my Monty Dyke said, Ron and Fez fucking ruled. It was one of the best shows in the history of radio. I would argue at times it was better than Opie and Anthony. I think it was overall better than Opie and Anthony. Opie and Anthony had way bigger of a, like way bigger stars that came in and shit, but I think Ron and Fez did the better show. Especially during NEW days. When I used to listen to Opie and Anthony, Fur Pineda said, can't donate on the website. Can you send a link? It's in the pinned comment in the chat every day, Fur Pineda. It's in there every day. revengeofthesis.com/nightwave. When I was like 17, I worked at the IRS in data entry, right? And I became really good buddies with a guy named Herman. He was a Puerto Rican guy. And like real pure New Yorican. Like a dead-ass Timberlands wearing Puerto Rican guy, right? So I was buddies with this guy, Herman. I used to listen to music, right? Where everybody was allowed to basically like, you know, you could have headphones on, you could jam out the tunes, because it was data entry. They didn't give a fuck. As long as your numbers were good, they didn't give a fuck. So we all had fucking, I had a Discman. Other people would bring in other shit, whatever. They'd listen to their little radios, whatever. You couldn't listen to it. You had to have headphones. You couldn't listen at your desk, but if you had headphones. So I remember one day we're sitting there, right? And me and this guy, Herman, we used to go to lunch together and just hang out and kick it, smoke weed, all that shit. And one day he's just sitting next to me and he's dying laughing, right? Like to the point where I even like at the time I was thinking like he's going to get yelled at. Like it's like borderline disruptive, like that level of laughing, right? And so I fucking, you know, when we're at lunch or whatever, I'm going, yo, what the fuck were you laughing at earlier? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, you were working, but like you had headphones on. You were fucking howling, my guy. Like, what were you listening to? And he's like, oh, he goes, bro, you ever heard of Opie and Anthony? I'd never heard of them up to this point. I'm like, no. And he's like, bro, I am telling you, dude. He goes, I even got a special radio with like a special extra strong antenna. He goes, because it's in, you know, we were on Long Island and it's in the city and you could get a pretty good NEW signal, but it wasn't like amazing or anything. He goes, bro, you got to listen to these guys, whatever. He's like, they're fucking hilarious. And I'm like, okay. So I popped Opie and Anthony on driving home one day. Fucking very funny show. It was everything I liked. It was edgy. It was wild. It was all that. I get home and I found myself more often than not when I would get home listening to Opie and Anthony while I played video games. And then I would just leave it on. Like I never heard of Ron and Fez either. And I would leave it on, bro. And I ended up becoming so much more of a Ron and Fez mark than I was an Opie and Anthony mark over the years. Just because it was amazing. If I'm telling you, man, if you never got to experience it, man, I feel bad for you. But because I lived in Mastic Beach in New York, right? Way out east on Long Island. I mean, one of the last shitty towns before you start getting to the Hamptons and stuff, right? And you can't really get the signal from New York City that well. I shit you not. My bedroom, right? I had one of those, you know, remember the old school stereos, you know, with the independent modular speakers you can move around, but like the big, you know, the big unit. And it had the CD player, it had the cassette player, it was so old, it even had the record player at the top. I went to Radio Shack and I bought, God, I can't even tell you how much, but like meters length of antenna wiring. And I'm telling you, bro, my entire bedroom, all around, along the ceiling, along every wall, I had fucking boom, 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 like all antenna wire running all through my room just so I could get that signal at night. And even then, the signal was trash, but it was good enough. And I fell in love with the comedy pyramid. It was one of my favorite things in the history of radio. And it was so smooth. And it was such a simple concept. They would get a topic going. Ronnie would start, Fez would start, and they would start coming up with like whatever the joke is, right? They would come up with like whatever the theme to a joke is. Like, what do you think the name of the new Garth Brooks album is going to be? And then they'll start making fun of Garth Brooks and coming up with all these album names. And it was great. It was the laziest but greatest concept in the world for a radio host. Just do the comedy pyramid. Let the fucking audience tell jokes. It's brilliant. It's less work for you, and you just take calls the whole time. You get a call screener. He makes sure the jokes are good. You'll line them up, and they knock down the joke for 20 minutes. I love the comedy pyramid. It was the funniest fucking thing. Over time, I just came to appreciate Ron and Fez more. Now, unfortunately, Opie and Anthony became the better show because Ron and Fez was like, it was unlistenable towards the end. It still breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that Fez just lost it, man. Ron Bennington's funnier. He's the funniest man in the history of radio, in my opinion. Ron Bennington is amazing. However, there was a time when the second funniest man in radio was Fez Watley. Fez was definitely the heart and soul of Ron and Fez for many, many, many years. And it's so strange. When I think back, because I was listening to some old Ron and Fez recently, and I was listening to the era where Ron was, or where Fez lost his mind. And Fez breaks my heart, and I'll tell you why. Fez did everything that you're supposedly supposed to do to get better. The guy lived in the closet his whole life, right? And he was told by his therapist and others that coming out would be a great thing for him to finally be able to be who he is. Coming out was the first step to him actually getting worse. He tried to quit drinking. That didn't help. A lot of this stuff that he tried to do just made him angrier and angrier. And there's a lot of Reddit threads and there's a lot of people, a lot of historians of the show that still to this day discuss it and break down like what was the moment. And there were a couple crucial moments. The coming out didn't help. The move, I believe, from New York to DC, that didn't help. But there was all these things that just sort of exacerbated his issues until he just became a fucking shell of what he is. Oh God, yeah, douchey Nazi. That actually may be my all-time favorite Fez moment. If not, it's top 3 easily. Let me see if I could find that. He really did this.
No, you're all football.
I am.
He even got the brown shirt and the tie.
Completely football. 100%.
By the way, I like that he didn't do the hack Hitler. He didn't do the hack Hitler with the fucking armband and the Nazi. He actually did the old school brown shirt Hitler. Oh, Danny Saint, the funniest thing about him roaming the building as Hitler was that Oprah was also in the building that day. That's amazing.
God damn it, Doom.
Doom! Find God! Find
God damn it, Doom. You quit that. It's not happening for the last freaking time.